Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and my firm assists physicians with employment contract issues. Today I'm going to talk about what is a non-solicitation clause in a physician employment contract. In almost any physician employment contract, be it in private practice or as a hospital healthcare network employee, there's going to be things called restrictive covenants in the contract. And basically those are things that the physician cannot do after the employment relationship ends. So those would include a non-competition clause, non-solicitation clause, non-disparagement clause. Those are kind of the, normal things that would be in a restrictive covenant part of an employment contract. Today, we're just going to talk about the non-solicitation part of that. So what does that mean? So generally, a non-solicitation clause will prohibit a physician from actively soliciting patients, employees, independent contractors, business vendors, basically anyone associated with the employer. The physician who is leaving would be prohibited from reaching out to them and actively trying to bring them. So why is this important, and what does it prohibit? So let's just start with patients. So the non-solicitation clause will simply state that for a period of time, usually 1 to 2 years, the physician can't actively solicit the patient, meaning they couldn't, let's say, download a list of all of their patients with the email addresses or phone numbers or whatever, and then blast out an email to all of their patients stating, I'm leaving the practice. I want you to come with me. Here's my new address. Get your medical records and move to my practice with me. So the non-solicitation clause would prohibit that. The biggest fear of almost any, at least smaller physician-owned practice, is to bring in a physician and then that physician, establish a relationship with all the patients, build a patient base, and then leave, take all the patients, take the employees, and then compete against them. That's an obvious fear. And so that's why the non-solicitation clause is in there, to prevent that type of thing. Now, what does this not prevent? Well, I guess you have to think about what is soliciting. So is just general marketing soliciting? I would say no. Most non-solicitation clauses don't get into the breakdown of what is considered soliciting or not. It's more of just kind of a general, you can't solicit them. But what this normally wouldn't prohibit would be, normal marketing not targeting your specific patient base. So, billboards, newspaper ads, although news alert, those are not that great effective marketing tactics in 2022. Electronic communication, so Facebook ads, Google ads, announcements on social media, that type of thing. Normally, as long as it's broadcast broadly and not to the specific population, those would not be considered solicitations. And 95 out of 100 contracts will not define what that is. Now, if you are in the office, you've given notice to your employer, you're seeing your patients, and they say, hey, Dr. Smith, I hear you're leaving. Where are you going? It's not soliciting if you just say, I'm leaving, I am going here. There's the information. A non-solicitation clause cannot prevent a patient from coming with a physician to their new, practice. You can't dictate who someone's healthcare provider is. And so if a patient wants to come with a physician who's leaving, that employer cannot prevent that, but they can prevent the physician who's leaving from going after them actively. Another part of a non-solicitation clause will be employees. Now, if the employer is savvy, they will say you cannot hire an employee, not just not solicit them. So once again, soliciting would be actively going after somebody. So sending a text or an email or a phone call or talking to them and saying, hey, I'm leaving. I want you to come with me. I want you to be an employee of my new practice. Quit, come with me. So a non-solicitation clause could prevent those activities going after that employee. Once again, they couldn't absolutely prohibit that employee from leaving and going to the new practice, unless the language states you cannot hire any employee, from this practice. Usually it would also state some kind of time limit. So for instance, it would say anyone who's been employed by the practice over the last 12 months, you can't actively solicit them. Or if they're, as I said before, if they're savvy, it will say you cannot hire them. I just represent physicians, so on that side, but if I was representing an employer, I would certainly tell them, don't just say solicit. I would say, don't, put language in that says do not hire. Independent contractors, business vendors, that type of thing. Obviously, if you want to use the same vendor for similar services, that's fine, but you just can't actively divert that person from the old practice. And then independent contractors as well. You couldn't just, ask them to leave the old practice, come with you. If they offer service that both practices can use, then generally that's okay. There's going to be a non-solicit in the vast majority of contracts. Now, this is also specialty specific. So if you think about it, obviously, if you work in the ED, hospitalist, ICU, like any kind of shift related position where you're just providing care to what's in front of you, you're not going to ever solicit those patients. Maybe you have some frequent flyers in the ED, but certainly you're not going to want them to come with you to a new ED. So this really is targeted towards people with a solid patient base, pediatricians, primary care, cardiology, those type of specialties. Is it fair? I mean, honestly, yeah, certainly it's fair. And as I stated before, an employer's worst nightmare is that they bring in a new physician, that physician leaves and takes all the patients. So I think, yes, it is fair, but like I said before, they can't completely prohibit a patient from coming with or coming with a physician to wherever they're moving to if they stay in the area. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, you can always contact my firm at the phone number listed below in the description, or you can reach us through our website, chellelaw.com. That's CHELLE law.com. All right, thanks.